Welcome to the review of the Seiko SNP001. This is the first in the series of the Seiko Kinetic Perpetual line. This was released in 2006, and like any Seiko Kinetic review, let's start with the auto relay function. Here we go. There you go. Let's now watch as time catches up with our present time. It's a little after 2 in the morning. So as you can see, the 12 o'clock, the 24-hour clock will run a full cycle as it catches up with the time that is there currently. As the time catches up, a little bit about this particular watch. It's a 40 millimeter lug width the case width, and about a 46 millimeter lug width. From the crown to the other end of the case, it's about 43 millimeter, and because it's a pearly white watch, it's really more like a silver white watch. It does wear a little larger on the wrist than its 40 millimeter diameter would suggest. So, and it caught up with 2:19 in the morning, and now the second hand will start moving. It is interesting that the second hand is moving at 2 times per second, which means this is running low on battery. Now I should be able to get this watch charged. A great way of keeping this watch charged is to just wear it while you're going out for a walk, and that should be enough to just get it charged. Let me see if I can do the Seiko shake and get it to stop moving. So all you need to do is shake it about 20 times. And let's try to see if that did the trick. Okay, that doesn't seem to do the trick. Let me do it again. Let's give it larger shakes. And if hopefully, this seems to be much lower on charge than I expected. So I'm going to have to wear it for a little bit of time. Anyway, while I do that, it's a great way to get you guys acquainted with the features of this watch. Like any high-end Seiko, this has a sapphire crystal. This watch is this is a 2006 model, so this is about 14 years old now. For a 14-year-old watch, this looks just perfect. And this watch has been worn. It's not that it hasn't been worn. It has an extremely polished bezel around the crystal with satin polished lugs. The lugs have this very a very robust look to them, and then you can clearly see the lug pins are again very clearly accentuated. So this, it's a very brash watch. It is not a subtle watch under any circumstances. There is a taper, I don't know if you can see it here, but there's actually a taper on the body of the watch. That angle should show it. So you can clearly see it tapers in. So the inner diameter of the back of the watch is actually more like 38 millimeters or so. So it just adds an interesting profile to the watch, and you can clearly see, you can see how that chamfer cuts at a larger angle as it cuts into the body. This watch really has some very beautiful details. A great detail would be, you can see in the stainless steel bracelet. This obviously has solid links. So again, it has a satin finish on the outer surface of the links. But if you look, they actually have a polished, all the bezels are polished. So the inside of the link is polished, but the outside surface has a satin finish. And then, like a lot of high-end Seikos, there is a polished edging on both sides of the bracelet, which really does give it an extremely elegant, dressy look. If in terms of at the 12 o'clock, you can see the date display. It has a really large date display which changes typically about 11:58 at night every day, and the date changes within a second. So it's not like an automatic where the date waits for a while before it changes. Then at the 3 o'clock, you have the 24-hour clock. You do need a 24-hour clock on these Perpetual watches, because this watch, once you set the calendar and the time, you don't need to set it again. It remembers what day and date it is. So it's important to know what the 24-hour time is so that it can change the date accurately. It shows the month of the year. It's October right now. And out here at 9 o'clock, you have the leap year indicator. In the later models, that leap year indicator shows up with the 6 o'clock dial where it shows the year. But I've always preferred the original leap year indicator that kind of cuts into the ring with the indices for the hour markers. The hour markers are raised off the surface of the watch, which itself has this textured grid pattern, and the Seiko lettering does extrude off the surface because it's applied, but then the rest, the Premier, Kinetic, Perpetual text is just printed. It's very well printed, but it's still printed on, and I don't think that looks as premium as a watch like this should. They may have been just better off getting rid of the Kinetic Perpetual text or putting it somewhere else where it doesn't, you don't really want 1, 2, 3. There's 4 lines of text underneath the Seiko logo, so that's just too many lines of text. There's a nice chrome window around the date dial, and the reason they have that metal divider between the 2 digits is because the number 5 moves independent of the number 2. It's not like a regular calendar, a date dial on an automatic watch where you have number 20, 21, 22, 23. Here, the numbers move independent of each other. There's Roman numerals right on top, which I actually think is kind of superfluous, but it does give that level of formal interest to what's happening. And I think it goes towards the more elegant look that the Premier line, that Seiko sought to achieve with the Premier line. The Premier line and the Seiko Presage comes out at the same time, which the Presage is a more Japanese domestic market watch, and this was the more international market watch. I think they made a mistake going with the kinetic movement, because the problem with the kinetic movement is in case you don't know what a kinetic movement is, there is a rotor out here which, as you move, generates power, and that power is charged on a lithium cell that in turn powers a normal quartz movement like any other Seiko quartz movement. This is a much more advanced quartz movement, so this has the motor that runs this is about 0.4 millimeter, so it's one of the smallest motors that you can buy. And they definitely did put a lot of effort into making this a very premium watch. This watch used to retail for about $4,550 when it first came out, but you could have gotten it on Amazon for $350, anything around $300 to $350. Seiko watches with sapphire crystals tend to be more expensive. This has a water resistance of almost, I think, 100 meters, if I'm not mistaken, but really it's a dress watch. Who's going to go diving with a watch like this? But the good thing is, if you get it caught in the occasional rain shower, nothing's really going to happen to the watch. In terms of other features, it really has a very nice bracelet. This came with a leather or a steel bracelet. I think the leather bracelet, whereas it looks elegant for the first few years that you own it, the stainless steel bracelet obviously ages a lot better. Let's take a quick look of how this watch would sit on my wrist. I have a wrist that's about 6 inches, so that's on the smaller side, but as you can see, it does sit pretty well because it has a smaller lug. The lug to lug isn't that much, and it does have, that's only 40 millimeters, so it's definitely within the dress watch size. Let's get this off the wrist, and let's wrap up the review with some just last opinions. The black markers are, I wish they were silver, but what I do like about this particular model and why this model is important is this is the very first generation. This is SNP001. So that was a design decision they took. I wish it were silver or maybe a metallic blue, as some of the later hour and minute hands were. That would look a lot more elegant, but that's a different matter. Anyway, thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions or comments.